All right, so today we're out here. We're gonna play with this Traditions Trapper 50 cal percussion cap muzzleloader. And I've had this gun for almost 4 years. I've never fired it. Yeah, so it's just been sitting around. So a lot of you are already gonna know a lot about muzzleloading and whatnot, and a lot of information I'm going to be putting out is going to be for people that don't. So it's a fun hobby to get into. It's kind of ticky. The cleaning regimen is basically immediate. So this is not something that you could go out shoot one day and throw it up, and then 6 months later not expect to have any problems, because even black powder and modern propellant does have corrosive properties. So you got to clean it immediately after your shooting trip. So anyway, let's move right along now. This pistol has 2 triggers. It's got a set trigger, and then it's got the fire trigger. Now you can shoot it without setting the trigger, or you can set the trigger and then it will be like what's known more like a hair trigger, about 2.5 pounds of pull. So anyways, we're gonna be shooting .490 regular old lead balls. And I've got some pre-lube patches here. I've got a powder measure. I've got my powder flask. I've got my ball starter. And I've also got a capper. And that makes it a lot easier than having to dig around for the little tiny caps. You'll see what goes on here in a minute. So let's see, for the sake of saying, today, and always observe your loading charts, because this can become dangerous if you're not careful. Today we're shooting a 50 490 caliber. We're going to use a .015 patch. That's going to fill the space up between the 4.9 and the 5.0. It says here the most accurate charge is 20 to 25 grains. And you're going to want to use triple F, which is what I'm using, triple F pistol powder. And then the maximum charge is 45 grains. Now, if you exceed 45 grains, chances are you're not going to blow the gun up. All you're going to do is blow the unburnt powder out of the barrel, and you're just going to waste powder. So I'm set up today for 30 grains. We're going to split the difference. We're going to go up 5 more grains from the max most accurate, and we're just going to do 30 grains today. Like I said, I've never shot it. I've got a little screwdriver here if I need to adjust my elevation, and we're going to put it on those paper targets. I don't know, that's probably 20 feet away maybe. We're not going for long range here. So let me get ready and get set up, and I'll show you how we load this thing. All right, so hopefully the wind isn't too bad. I'm gonna try to talk loud in case it does start to pick up. When you get into muzzle loading, this is gonna be one of the basic things you're gonna wanna do, and this is gonna be every time you go out and shoot. Not just because you've got a new firearm. Every time you go out and shoot, the gun should be cleaned and oiled properly to prevent rust and corrosion. So, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna season everything up for your shooting day. That is very easily done. You're gonna wanna put it on half cock if you're using a percussion like this one. You're gonna take your capper, you're gonna push a cap up in there, and then this may be hard to see, but you put it on the nipple, slide it straight out, take your thumb and make sure it's kind of seated. You don't want to use a lot of pressure, just enough to make sure it is seated. Now what you're gonna do here is you're gonna cock the gun, point it in a safe direction, and you're just going to fire the cap. All right, what you're gonna be listening for is, of course, the cap popping, and then a hollow sound. And that hollow sound lets you know that your flame is going through your bolster, which is this, and into your barrel. And then the hollow sound you'll hear right there. So we already know it's clear. We're gonna do it one more time. We just wanna make sure we burn up any kind of, well, dust or residual oils or anything like that. And this capper is giving me fits. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stick one on here like this. All right, and then you're gonna repeat the process. Safe direction. Good hollow sound. Okay, so I am confident that the gun is ready to charge. Now this is the part that's gonna take a lot of, not so much skill, but just thinking about what you're doing. Because if you load this backwards, ball before the powder, well, you know, that's not gonna work. So what we're gonna do is, first things first, we're gonna take our powder measure. This is a brass one. There's also plastic tubes and but you're gonna have to have some kind of powder measure. So I'm using the old traditional brass type. And I'm gonna take my powder flask and I'm going to just fill it up to the top, kind of tamp it just like you're filling up, making a cake. You know, you're putting ingredients in a measuring cup, and essentially this is all this is. Then once your powder's up there, you're gonna close this lid. It's gonna rake off a little powder. You're gonna lose a little powder, but it's gonna be okay. All right, now here's something I do to ensure positive ignition. A lot of people think these guns go snap, boom, and there's like this long delay, and that's somewhat true on the older frizzen pan styles where you had a piece of burning rope or even a flint. Modern percussion styles are much more effective as far as the powder ignition. You're gonna wanna dump that in there. All right. Now here's what I do every time, no matter if it's a rifle or one of these pistols or whatever. I take it and I bump it. What I'm doing is I'm forcing powder into this bolster, which is gonna be right under the nipple and right below the touch hole. This nipple comes down to a fine point, which makes that flame super hot, and that's called a touch hole, and it's gonna first ignite this, which is gonna ignite the rest and gonna send the projectile forward. Now, once I feel comfortable that that's done like that, I'm just gonna lay the gun down, and I'm gonna get a patch. I use pre-lube patches with boar butter. And you can pre-lube these and put them in this little Ziploc bag and they will stay forever. So there's my pre-lube patch. It's kind of greasy and sticky or whatever. Then I'm gonna take one of my lead balls. I'm gonna help with the bag here. I'm gonna take the gun and I'm gonna place the patch right in the center of the muzzle. Now, this is going to affect accuracy. When you're putting your ball on your patch, you kind of want it to be uniform. You're gonna want it to suck that patch down evenly. You're not gonna want a big piece of your patch that's hanging off on one side. Just get it as even as you can. All right, now, a ball starter. This is gonna be something you're gonna need if you get into this hobby when you're talking about single shot, closed breech stuff. Ball starter's got a little cup on this side. You're gonna push it down in there, and then you're gonna use the long starter, put it on here, push it till it goes all the way in. Now after that's done, you're gonna take out your ramrod, and you're gonna take it, and you're gonna place it in there. Just kind of bump it down until you feel it seat. Nice and seated, there's no airspace, it's nice and seated. At this point, you can always take your stick, mark it if you want to, and you can find out if the gun is loaded or unloaded just by how far this goes down in the barrel. Always assume a firearm is loaded, no matter what it is. Even though this is a primitive device, and you've only got one shot, it will still maim, hurt, or possibly kill you. So you have to be careful. All right. So let me get set up to take the shot, and I'll be right back. All right, I've got my ears in. Always wear ear protection. some sort of eye protection. Now, I've already put a cap on the nipple, so I'm recharged and I am ready to go. So I'm just gonna pick one of my targets. Never shot this, so I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna cock it, point in a safe direction, and I'm gonna do a trigger set. I'm gonna set the trigger. Trigger is set. And we're gonna go ahead and take the shot. Okay, very first shot. Let's go ahead and grab the camera here. There's my first shot. Like I say, that's about 20, 22 feet away. We're gonna go ahead and leave it alone. I'm gonna charge it back up, and then we're gonna see how she's gonna group right there. I may not even need to mess with it. I shall return. All right, so we are ready to go once again. 30 grains. I'm gonna shoot for the same target and just see how we're going here. All right. Grab our camera. And we'll come up and notice shot number 2. Now that's actually just ripped paper right here, so there's your hole right there. I'm not gonna touch anything. I'm literally not gonna touch a thing. And yes, don't let that primitive weapon fool you, folks. At this range right here, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. Even though it's just an old lead round ball, that thing is still packing a lot of punch. So anyway, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna load up again, and we're gonna go over for this target right here, get us a fresh target, and then actually I'll do one more shot. We'll do a 3-shot group on that, and then I'll move along. Stand by. All right, we are primed up for shot number 3. Same target, cap is on. And we'll go check that target out there. Now, something I hadn't mentioned yet, I want to go ahead and make it aware, is that this powder does burn up efficiently as long as you're not overcharging or anything like that. Now, I usually like to wait 1 to 2, 3 minutes maybe before I reload. I'll take it, I'll do a little visual inspection. And yes, you're going to be looking down these muzzles, but you know it's not loaded. You want to make sure there's no burning embers or anything like that, because you go dumping new powder in, start doing all this kind of stuff, and you have an ignition. Well, guess what? Your hand's up here and this rod's up here, and well, you can pretty much figure out what happens after that. So I like to let the gun marinate, just make sure all the embers get burnt out, and take that kind of time to go doing a target inspection. Today I'm videoing, so I've got stuff to do. So there's your 3-shot group. I knew I was probably gonna track a little low on this one, because I know when I pulled, I was a little low, but that is 1-inch MOA right there. And that is probably a 5-inch circle And like I said, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 yards away right here. We're about 8 yards away. So anyway, I'm gonna load this thing up, and I'm gonna load her up, and I'm gonna take a couple more shots, and I'm happy with it. So kind of chilly out here today, and I just wanted to shoot the thing and maybe put a little cool information out there for anybody that might be interested in acquiring one of these guns. Now, these can be shipped straight to your door. Now, if I was a felon or something like that, I'd be very leery because it is a trigger-fired device. But you can order these and they'd be shipped straight to your door. All the components can be found online, a lot of them at Walmart, stuff like that. Now, this is not a firearm that you're going to want to keep loaded in a drawer somewhere. These are strictly recreational firearms. It's not a good practice to keep them loaded. And I know everybody's heard the old adage, well, something's better than nothing. Well, if that's the case, I would definitely invest in something like a speed loader or something like that. You can get speed loaders that contain your projectile and your powder and everything, and you just kind of get it all in there real quick, put a cap on it, and you're ready to go, but you've only got one shot. So you're not going to have the time to reload if you're in a tense tactical situation. So like I said, these have to be respected. It's still shooting a projectile. You've still got powder that burns. Essentially, this is nothing different than a bullet that goes in a gun. It's just all self-contained. You are turning it into a cartridge is what you're doing. So anyway, shoot safe, have fun. Hope you learned something. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments. And you guys have a Merry Christmas. And I'm going to make a little more smoke. Top Gun, 1, 2, 3. And we'll see you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this in here. This was off camera. These shots here were taken at 16 yards. I backed up twice as far as I was. And that just goes to show you the accuracy, effectiveness at your ranges and as the bore starts to get fouled. I don't have anything out here to swab the bore with, and I just want to come out here and put some trigger time on the gun. So that was my first one, and then I tried a second attempt and it landed here on this target. That was a 45 caliber sabot slug that I had laying around. I just put through there. And then here was my very last shot, still all on this same target. So things happen, things change. The more your barrel gets fouled, you got to adjust your powder charge to the range you're going to be shooting. You know, I could do this all day at 30 grains. This one, I actually dropped down to 25 grains. I got it more in that accurate range, and you can see it's even crappier than these two at 30. So I think 30 is going to be my magic number. But like I said, I'll get it dialed in a lot better later, better, warmer conditions. But it's just a fun platform, a firearm to play with. And I did exactly what I preached against off camera. I loaded up. Actually, I primed it with powder, everything else, and I put my earphones in and earplugs in. I went back there, and I just blew powder down the barrel. I forgot to put a ball and patch in it. So it can happen. It's been a long time since I've played with these guns, but you can get something on your mind and you can forget a step, and it happened. So it just happened to me today. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Y'all take it easy, shoot safe, stay on target. And once again, Merry Christmas.